All right, welcome back to Exploring Growth. Today I have the privilege of interviewing a local Central Florida CEO who started Casiola, a vacation rental platform. Dennis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Lee. So nice being here.
Yeah, so when I came across your website, I thought there are more platforms to book vacation rentals other than Airbnb and VRBO. What is this mad black magic? So I'm excited to have you on the show and learn more about the niche you're carving out here in the market.
I'm already glad that you call us vacation rentals because a lot of people refer to our industry and our sector just as Airbnbs, right? I stayed in an
Yeah.
Airbnb instead of I stayed in a vacation rental. So
Yes.
that's already good. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be diplomatic. I saw your website, and that's what your website says. So I want to, speak the terms that you guys are speaking. But I think Airbnb, to your point, has really carved that niche. Like they've captured that name, kind of like I googled it. That people are saying I Airbnb. That's got to be just on the outset. It's got to be a little bit of a barrier to cross for your business.
Well, they have been amazing in creating awareness for the space. So they were
Mhm.
absolutely not the first ones in the market. A lot of people have also heard of HomeAway or Verbo.
Mhm.
They were actually in business, I think, 10, 15 years before Airbnb came around. But what Airbnb has accomplished in just the last few years has been a huge boost for our industry. So, on one hand, we don't like to be called Airbnbs because it's so much more. Airbnb is one of the booking platforms that
That's right.
we also use. But on the other hand, we're also very grateful that it had such an impact on our business and our industry. So I'm fine with it anyway.
I love it. Okay, well then let's start with what is Casiola and how did you come up with this?
Yeah, so Casiola is a full service vacation home management company. So the booking part that you were referring to, the Airbnb and booking your vacation
Mhm.
is one part of what we do.
Okay.
But our target customers are actually homeowners. So, not so much the guests, but homeowners that do have a vacation home or that are looking to invest their money in short term rentals, but that don't want to deal with the 2 a.m. guest call to unclog a toilet or market their home and do the maintenance and clean the pool and so on. So we take all that off their plate. We do full service management from paying your bills to advertising the home, scheduling photo shoots, providing 24/7 guest support, doing maintenance. We have bulk agreements for pool cleaning, for pest control, for cable, all those things
Wow.
so that they can just sit back, relax, use their home maybe a few weeks a year when they're around
Yeah.
and they want to enjoy the area. And other than that, they just get a check every month. So that's the goal.
I love it. It sounds so amazing. I kind of want to hire you just for my own personal house. If you could just handle all that stuff for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it is amazing, and it has made vacation rentals so much more accessible. When I started 10 years ago, what we saw is that the biggest customer base of homeowners that were in vacation rentals were like really second homeowners. So they
Mhm.
bought the home for themselves, for their family, because they
Mhm.
loved the environment, loved coming to Disney, for example, with the kids or the grandkids, and they didn't really care about the revenue and the money. They were just happy that their home was being taken care of and that they could cover their like fixed expenses like
Yes.
HOA fees and taxes and utilities and stuff like that. But they were not really in it to make a big profit every month. But then as more and more companies like ours came around and we took it to the next level and did it in a more professional way, you saw more and more investors entering this market segment
Hmm.
because there's a lot more money to be made in short-term rentals than there is in long-term rentals, for example, or multifamily or retail and especially office these days. So it can be very profitable, but it's also very intensive. It's hard. It's 24/7, if you're making some nice money and you have a bit busy job, you don't want to do this on the side. I know there's a lot of TikTok videos and Facebook gurus that claim that
Mhm.
short-term rentals is passive income and that it's
Yeah.
easy and they
Easy.
automate everything. But we're in the hospitality business. It's not
Yes.
easy. It's not, you cannot automate everything. You just have to provide good old hospitality 24/7. And usually when people are on vacation, so Saturdays, Sundays, nights, when they come back from the theme parks, that's when they notice, like, oh, my AC is not working or
Hmm.
the pool is not clean. So it's definitely not a passive side hustle. It's a lot of hard work, and that's where we add the value. We take that off your plate, and we do everything for you.
I love it. So, tell me about how you got into this. And I know you said off camera that you're from Belgium, thus the accent.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your story.
So I've always been an entrepreneur. So as you mentioned, I was born and raised in Belgium. I started my first company the week after I turned 18 years old, which is like the minimum legal age to start a company in Belgium. And I actually started as a supplier of all things for events. So we provided DJs and light and sound equipment, even yeah, food and beverages, you name it, and we did it. And that was 2001, so the time before online payments. Facebook wasn't even around,
Hmm.
I think, in that year. But we took like a new approach, and I was bringing everything to our website. So it was not really an online shop yet, but we had an online price list, and
Hmm.
we created like standard packages for events. So if you had like a wedding for 50 people, you could
Sure.
get the medium wedding package from us, and it would come with everything, with a DJ, with light and sound equipment,
Hmm.
with a couple of other things, and yeah, we would openly advertise our prices online, which was a very unique concept at that time. Everything was still behind closed walls, and you had to call and inquire for a quote and then wait a couple of days. And we wanted to streamline that process and just say, like, hey, let us know which of those standard packages you want,
Sure.
and we will take care of everything, with the intent, of course, to lower our cost and make it more affordable for customers, and be able to scale that way. So that's how I started when I was 18 years old. So I was usually at parties from Wednesday through Sunday night. Was the greatest job to have as a young guy and a student.
Yep.
But after a while, it also became really hard because you always have to work when everybody else is off, and
That's right.
and after a few years, you've seen it all.
That's right.
And we evolved a little bit more on into the printing side. So one of the products that we offered was print products, so like invitations and
Hmm.
posters and flyers to promote your event. And we saw more and more demand from companies that had nothing to do with events, but that still wanted our printing products, because again, we advertised prices openly. We had standard formats on the website, so you didn't have to inquire about a quote. You could just see, like, hey, 1,000 leather format brochures would be $150
Hmm.
delivered at your home. So a lot of companies really love that. So we pivoted our business a little bit into that printing business, and it's actually funny if you think back about that. Then I came across an article in a newspaper, and they were talking about something new that was upcoming back then in the US, but they were coming to Europe. And there was a company called Google, and no one
Hmm.
had ever heard about Google, but they
Hmm.
started to sell advertisements on top of a search engine. And I was thinking, yeah, let's just try it. So I invested 50 euros back in the day, and didn't expect much, because all our advertising up until that day was ads in newspapers still. So
Yeah.
and
Right.
and I saw so much response because of that $50 that I invested, so much more than the ads that we had in newspapers. So We were one of the first printing companies, online printing companies in Belgium or in even Europe that started using Google, and that really exploded our business, and
That's
the
great.
growth was immense. And now, of course, everybody's doing it, but I think our first reason why my first business was able to scale that much was because of something new that I tried, which was Google back then, and we kept increasing budgets, and our revenues kept on following up
Hmm.
to a point that we were doing $20 million in revenue on a yearly basis. We opened offices in 7 countries all over Europe. In 2013, I sold the business, wanted to do something else,
Hmm.
felt myself too young to retire, and that's not me. I don't think that's ever going to happen. So I wanted to do something different. I had a non-compete, so I couldn't do anything in the print industry anymore. So my first response was, let's go somewhere else and see how things are going there, to get some inspiration and
Hmm.
ideas. So I took a plane to Silicon Valley. Back then, it was the place to be. Every
Yes.
big startup was located in Silicon Valley. So I took a plane there. Really immersed myself in the environment there. Did a couple of startup weekends. Visited all those big companies. And I came to realize that Silicon Valley is an amazing place with an amazing vibe. Like, everybody was working on an idea or a
Hmm.
startup, or just joined a startup. But I also realized pretty quickly that it would be very hard to start a business there, because it was so expensive, not
Hmm.
just real estate and getting office space, but also you're competing against Facebook and Google and Apple and all those other big companies for talent. And I came to the conclusion that it would actually be a lot cheaper to start even a tech company in other locations, or in Belgium, because of the salaries being so much lower. And I really made a decision for myself that I did not want to raise capital to start my new business. So I have done
Right.
that with my printing business. We merged, we got investors on board, we raised some money there, and it's a high speed train that's hard to get off. And I really enjoyed it, and I could recommend it to everyone. But I was at a point in my life that I wanted to slow down a little bit. We were
Hmm.
starting to think about kids, moving
Yeah.
to different countries. So I didn't want to own the company 100% myself,
Right.
and that would have been very hard in that area. So I drove down a little bit to LA to see if there were any ideas to find there, and I was staying in a small hotel around Disneyland in Anaheim. And that's how I came across vacation rentals, which was something new for me, no experience whatsoever. I've always been interested in real estate, but I didn't want to become a real estate agent.
Right.
So I thought vacation rentals, that may be something nice. People book them online. I can use my e-commerce background and all the
Hmm.
experience that we've built over the 13 plus years running an e-commerce business, and apply that to vacation rentals. And then started to do some more market research. Came to find that Orlando is the number one market in the US for vacation rentals. So
Hmm.
they even have it trademarked, like the vacation home capital of the world. So there's more than 100,000 vacation rentals in the area around Disney. So I thought, even if I can get just a very very small market share in that area, I'm probably gonna be still doing okay. So that's how I arrived here, not knowing anything about vacation rentals. I thought by myself, like, how hard can it be? And I envisioned myself just sitting at the pool here
Yeah.
in sunny Florida with my laptop and a cocktail, waiting
Yeah.
until someone needed something. And so I started with purchasing a small existing business. So I did not start from zero. And the reason why I didn't want to do that is because First of all, a completely different country, literally 10,000 miles across the pond,
Yeah.
different culture, different language, everything. I had to start from zero. I had no network whatsoever here, so I thought, hey, let's start with an existing business and try to grow it from there, which is still a choice that I yeah, don't regret doing,
I
because that
bet.
has helped me learning everything a lot faster. So
Now,
came
what
over here.
what
Yeah.
year was that when you moved
So
to
that was
Orlando?
2014, exactly 10
Okay.
years ago. So that's when I started this business. In the beginning, it was just me and my wife doing everything. So I did like the whole office side and accounting and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife took care of the home. So she started checking the housekeepers and making sure that
Okay.
everything was in good working order and clean for the guests to arrive. So that's how we started thinking to slow down and like semi-retire and have a
Hmm.
passive income or hobby.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I've never ever in my life worked as hard as the first few years doing management. I really underestimated it. I thought, because before I was the CEO of a company, that we were able to grow to 150 employees, offices all over Europe, production facility in Belgium and in North Africa. So pretty decent sized company, not like major, but pretty good. And like I said, I've never worked as hard as the first few years doing property management. It's 24/7. It never stops. You get phone calls at 2 a.m., at 4 a.m., ACs going down, toilets being clogged, guests being locked out, you name it. So yeah, I definitely underestimated it, and it was hard in the beginning.
Wow, yeah, that's quite the story. I appreciate you taking us through that because I mean, coming from Belgium, and a certain way of life, not even being able to start a company until you're 18, which is kind of crazy. In the U.S., it's almost like when you're born, they give you the entrepreneurial card, and it's like, oh, you're not gonna start a business. Okay, well then, you might as well move somewhere else. So I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of interesting to hear that. But now that you're here and you've been in the business, take us through those first, I don't know, 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
What I'm interested to know is, when did you hit the point where you said, okay, like maybe a tipping point where you said, okay, this is going to be successful. I can see the forest for the trees.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, as I was mentioning in the beginning, I wasn't that sure. It wasn't even that bad that after 6 months, I sat down with my wife and I said, like, look, this is just too hard. This is not what I want to do. We didn't come here to be working 24/7.
Mhm.
So we either sell the business again and look for something else, or we grow it and scale it so we can hire people and we don't have to be working 24/7
Right.
anymore. So that was around the 6 month time frame. But I did see a lot of similarities of my previous business. There was a lot of consolidation going on. Things were really starting to be automated more, brought
Hmm.
online. So I saw a lot of potential in this industry, and so we decided to grow the company and work hard a few more years, but with the goal, of course, to grow the team.
Hmm.
Then we came around another new tech company, which was called Airbnb. Now, of course, it's obvious you call vacation rentals even Airbnbs, but back then, no one really had heard of them.
Hmm.
It was not the first year, but it was a very niche product that almost no one was using. But I thought, hey, let's just try and see what it does. So we were one of the first few companies on Airbnb in this area, and we really saw that market share from Airbnb growing and growing year after year.
Hmm.
And that has only accelerated. There's a lot of property management companies, especially in the beginning years, that were a little bit averse of Airbnb for the reasons that you mentioned in the beginning, like
Hmm.
yeah, they have such a big brand and they call themselves Airbnbs and they
Hmm.
control the guest and the review system and
Hmm.
they determine to refund guests. So a lot of property managers didn't like Airbnb and did not have their listings on Airbnb. They were only on their own website and then the older sites like Verbo and HomeAway. So that has really helped us grow and scale and outperform the market. So first few years, as with any business, it goes in like a waveform, right? So you work, you grow, you make a nice amount of money, but then there's a time that you have to hire someone, and then
Hmm.
all of a sudden you're working again almost for free because all the
Yes.
money that you were making before you're now spending on an employee.
Yeah.
But that gives you the opportunity to grow your business more. If you don't do that, you can make a nice amount of money, but you will be working in the
That's right.
business and you don't have time to work on the business. So I definitely did have that vision to grow us. So we kept on doing that. We had a good plan in place. Did a lot of marketing, used all those online and e-commerce tactics, which almost no one was really doing because a lot of these property management companies were doing it old school ways. When I purchased that business 10 years ago, which seems like a long time now, but they were still using faxes. So guests had to fill out a Word document and fax it back with
Oh,
their credit
wow.
card information. And I hadn't seen a fax in 10 years. So
Yeah.
just to show or prove the point that a lot of these companies were still operating the same way as they were operating 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So bringing that all online, implementing software to work more efficiently, to be able to do more with less people. Um, Offering a lower cost, no barriers. We also removed all the barriers. So if you join us, there's no setup cost. A lot of companies were charging a setup cost. Hey, if you join us, it's going to
Hmm.
be $1,500 for the photo shoot and to get
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
in order. We removed that. We said, hey, we're going to invest in that for you because we really believe that we can do a great job for you and then you're going to
Yeah.
stay with us and to prove it, we're gonna take that investment on us. We also got rid of management fees. A lot of companies still up until today charge a monthly management fee. Even if they don't generate any bookings or they don't do anything for you, you still pay them like $100 or $200 a month just to
Hmm.
be part of their program. So got rid of that. So our cost model is very simple now for owners. So we charge 20% commission on all the bookings we bring in. And the
Hmm.
reason why that was very important for me to do it that way is because our interests would be aligned with the owners. And I am never gonna forget. I was one day sitting at the competitor's office, and we were talking in his office, and all of a sudden the phone rang, and he told me, "You know what this is?" I said, "No, yeah, someone is calling you." He said, "This is the sound of money. Every time I get a phone call, I know there's an issue, and I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna charge the owner to fix the issue, and I'm gonna make money." And I'm like, this is actually so wrong.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way. You should be making money for the owner, and if you get a
Yes.
share of that, that's fine. But you should not be making money on the owner's expense. So we got rid of upcharges on maintenance fees and bills. So if there is a bill, it's unavoidable. At some point, something's gonna
Hmm.
break, but we don't want to have an incentive of repairing things in your home when it's not necessary, or charging you for maintenance services that are not absolutely necessary because it's gonna influence your performance. So we just said, hey, we're gonna do away with all up charges. We only gonna focus on the commission on bookings. So the more bookings we bring in, the more money we make. If there are any expenses, we want to have it done as quick and efficient as possible because we're also losing money on it. If we have to call a vendor
Right.
and schedule them, we're losing money because we're not getting paid for that. So
That's
we
right.
want to be preventive. We want to avoid things from happening in the first place so that it doesn't cost us money, and then it also doesn't cost the owner money. So that's the concept, which was relatively new. It
Yeah.
sounds all very logical, but
Yeah.
it was the exact opposite. A lot of property management companies did bookings, but still, remember, most home owners were second homeowners, so it wasn't their
Yes.
main priority. They were happy to get bookings, but their main priority was that their home was taken care of. And we
Right.
switched that around and really made a shift in this market, and that has helped us
Yeah.
grow and become one of the biggest players in the area.
Yeah, it sounds like you did again now what hindsight logically sounds like the right play, but you just aligned your interests with their interest, and
Yeah,
everyone wins. So the retention is going to be there. So
yeah.
I'm curious, back in the early days of getting in there and kind of righting the ship, obviously not taking faxes anymore. How did you go and find customers?
So I pretty quickly realized that 80% of our bookings were coming from our top four channels. So when I took over the existing business, they were paying subscriptions to 30, 40 websites that you have probably never heard of and that
Right.
are no longer around. But their idea was, the more eyes we can get on our properties by being on all those different channels, the more
Hmm.
bookings we're gonna get. Now it's a lot of work to have your properties on all those different websites, because you
Yeah.
have to get into agreements with them and upload
Hmm.
photos. Back in the days, it wasn't that automated. So I did an analysis and I saw, like, hey, if I focus on that the top four channels, and I do better on those channels than what we're doing right now, because the previous owner didn't really have time to fully optimize those channels and really master them, I'm probably going to be able to do a lot more business than being on 40 different websites that no one has heard of. So what I
Hmm.
did is I just canceled all my subscriptions on all those websites and kept focusing on the top four. And that was the right thing to do. We were able to optimize things. Like I said, no one really understood Airbnb very well that day, so I
Hmm.
really dove into it, and yeah, you saw the results right away. Booking.com, another thing. If you really understand the type of customers that you have, how to use the software, how to optimize your listings,
That's right.
you can do so much more with it than instead of just placing them online and waiting for a booking. So that is definitely one of the big shifts that we've done that were very successful.
Yeah, sounds like it. That sounds and like it makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
speaking of knowing your customer, who is your target audience? Because I would assume that you can't really serve everyone. And I
Mhm.
noticed that you have a few locations listed on your website if people were to book through your website. So I'm curious, who do you specific? Do you have like a niche that you go after?
Yeah. So we are managing homes right now in Orlando, in Miami, and Aruba, which are three completely different types
Mhm.
of destinations. So Orlando is what they call a resort market. Miami is urban, and then Aruba is beach destination. So, but just to come back, our main customers are the owners, the
That's
homeowners,
right.
and a lot of people, even in our industry, get that wrong. They think like, oh, we need guests
Hmm.
to grow our business, which is true, of course. But we
Hmm.
serve the owners the guests to serve the owners. The better job we do for the guests, the higher the reviews are going to be, the higher rates we
That's
can
right.
charge, so that the owners get better. So obviously, each of those three destinations has different demographics. So in Orlando, it's very family oriented, but we also manage around 120 homes in a resort right next to the convention center here in Orlando, and it's a completely different market. It's still Orlando, but there we target B2B travelers, and it's doing very, very well. Plus, also um, people visiting Universal Studios, which is again a
Hmm.
different demographic than people visiting Disney. So it's really like laser targeted on. Yeah, depending on the area. Miami, you have a little bit of a combination: B2B travel, city trippers, and just people that want to party. Aruba is usually an older demographic, a lot of repeat business, people that wanna, yeah, snowbirds basically that
Yeah.
wanna leave the cold northern states and
Hmm.
spend some time in yeah, tropical island of Aruba. So it's completely different. Well, we don't have a specific niche. What we target is as broad as a demographic as possible. So we are not in the very, very high end multi-million dollar mansions. We're
Hmm.
also not in the Motel 6 low end
Hmm.
market. And we're in that mid segment, affordable for most. And good quality, but without like crazy expensive. So we want to target as many guests as we can,
Hmm.
and optimize the revenue for our owners as much as possible.
So it sounds like you are really seeking to understand, what your homeowners want to get out of their property
Hmm.
first, and then you're going to the platforms which you have a background in, and you've been able to apply that there to optimize those listings so that you can really achieve what it is that the homeowners want through the guests that they're booking through. Am I getting that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So a lot of owners, if they have kids themselves, they're probably gonna design and furnish their
That's right.
home a little bit more focused on kids, and that's great, especially in the Orlando area. And we can
Hmm.
also advise homeowners what they should do where the most demand is now. If you don't have kids and you're more focused on your own enjoyment, well, we have a lot of golfers coming to
Hmm.
the area too, so you can focus your home more on sports people and have a pool table and yeah, more games in the property that are targeted to older people. So we can work with whatever the owner's preference is. Of course, we can give them advice because we have so much data, and we see what's going on in the market. An example here is like pet-friendly homes. If you look in Orlando, like I mentioned, there's 100,000 vacation homes. So if you have one home, you're in a list of 100,000 competitors. But if you click the box like pet friendly homes, it goes down to 10,000. So all of a sudden, you only have 10,000 competitors. So even though you may not have a pet or not necessarily like having dogs in your home, from a financial standpoint and for an investor, it makes so much sense to accept pets in your home. So, and that's a great thing that we see in the last, let's say, 5 years. We really have seen that shift from second homeowners to investors. A lot of people that we get as our customers now, they just say like, hey, tell me exactly what I need to do and I will do it. The home is not for me. The home is just to get a return.
Hmm.
It's an investment. So I do whatever you advise, and that works great, of course, because then we can really optimize those homes to get the most revenue for them.
Yeah, that's amazing. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So now, current day, as you're growing your business, how do you get in front of new homeowners to add to your mix?
So it's yeah, that's marketing, right? There's a
Hmm.
lot of different things that we do. Maybe a couple of highlights, or the things that generate the most awareness for us. The good old direct mail still
Okay,
works amazingly,
I love that.
even in 2024.
Hmm.
Printed paper, it still works. It's funny now. It's not like I think a lot of business owners think, oh, let's try it, and they do one direct mail, and then they're sitting there and waiting
Sure.
for all the calls to come in, and that's not how it how
That's not
works.
how it
You
works.
have
No.
to do it consistent and do it over and over again. And it's funny, sometimes we have owners walking into our office with a direct mail in their hand from 2 years ago. So we've been mailing them like two years in a row. They never responded. They never showed any interest, but we were still yeah, in their mind. But they may have been happy with their current property management company at that time, or there may have not been a need. But then something happens, and as long as you stay top of mind, they're gonna say, "Oh yeah, that company that sent me all those direct
Hmm.
mails. Let's see if they would be an option." So repeating, that's the key here. So direct mails works very well. We are also scoring really well on the SEO side for Airbnb management in
Hmm.
Orlando. We're the number one search result. Vacation home management, so we invest a lot in that. We have ads, and probably the most business we get from referrals. So we try to partner up with real estate professionals, um, real estate agents, but also pool cleaning companies,
Hmm.
interior design companies, accounting
Sure.
companies. So those people all get to the owners a lot of times before we even get to them, or they know them, and they refer business to them. So we pay referral fees for anyone that brings us a home, that signs up to the program.
Hmm.
And yeah, that works really well. Building those relationships is, I think, the most important.
Sure. How is it on the paid ads side? I know you're doing direct mail, but are you running Google ads, Facebook ads? Have you experimented with that?
So yeah, we definitely have done that. Of course, that was the first thing I've done after my experience with my previous business,
That's right.
which grew so much thanks to Google. But what we pretty quickly realized is that Orlando is probably the most competitive market in the whole country for Google and Facebook ads. You don't only have every single hotel chain in the world that has some hotels here, usually more than one, but you're also competing against Disney, against Universal itself, and 100,000 other vacation rentals. So we realized that Google Ads here do not really work for us. So we're really focusing on the booking channels like Booking.com, Airbnb. They usually charge on average around 15 to 18% commission on the bookings that they bring into us. And we've done our numbers, and that's cheaper than what we would invest in SEO. So that's why
Gotcha.
we decided to focus for guests at least on the booking channels that are out there. We do SEO, but we don't do paid advertising. And now for owners, we do a little bit of both. We do remarketing, we do
Mhm.
paid advertising, but on very specific keywords. And yeah, that works well too.
Yeah, I would imagine you have to have a almost kind of an omni campaign going where you have all the different layers, coordinated. And now that you've said you use direct mail, it makes a lot of sense. You have to have online and offline working, and it's great you have the background in print too, so
Yeah.
how to not get taken on that. So as we
Hard
move
part for
forward,
us is like all our homeowners have a home here, but they
mhm,
live all around the world. So you
yes,
cannot really say like, "Hey, let's target the Orlando
that's
area,"
right.
because they're not here. That's why they need us. If they would live down the street, they could manage the
Yes,
property themselves if they wanted to. But they live in Brazil, in Europe, in
yes.
the northern side of the US. So yeah, we really need to work very targeted, and direct mail is
Hmm.
ideal there, because we can get those records from the property appraiser's website and target them. We don't get a phone number or an email address in most counties, but we do have a mailing address.
Yeah. So then, as you look forward to growing this business, what are your plans in 2024, 25, 26? And what does it look like for Casiola?
So yeah, over the years we expanded into a few different destinations. Especially after COVID, we saw how important it was to diversify
Mhm.
Orlando got hit like really hard because of COVID. Even when like travel restarted and vacation homes were killing it, Orlando was as good as dead still, because everybody wanted to go to the mountains or to a
Mhm.
coastal area away from other people. No one really wanted to spend time with 80,000 other people in a theme park back in the day. So we saw the need, like, hey, we need to diversify into different areas. And that's also our strategy moving forward for the future. So we want to expand our reach into more destinations. Now we also realized that running operations, local operations, is really, really hard, especially if you're not there. So doing it all from Orlando and opening up a destination across the country is going to be as good as impossible, or very,
Mhm.
very expensive. So last year we decided to go the franchise route. So we started Casiola franchise. So that's what we're doing now. So we're looking for like-minded
There you go.
entrepreneurs that love the industry, that have a feeling for hospitality, and that love that personal contact with owners and with guests, but I don't necessarily want to do all the marketing and the revenue management and the
Mhm.
distribution and the accounting. So that's where we come in. So we want to do everything that we can do centralized to just streamline it, more, make it more efficient and cheaper. And then having like a local business owner in each area with a team, of course, as they grow,
Mhm.
taking care of the homeowners, the guests, and the homes itself. So that's our strategy now for the next few years.
I like that a lot, and it makes perfect sense when you say it because I'm sitting here listening to your story and I'm thinking, wow, you have now these banks of knowledge and experience and information and data points, and you have more data and intel now that can be leveraged. But I'm trying to connect the dots on how to leverage it without
Mhm.
getting into a completely other bit, new business. Like for example,
Yeah.
you know a lot about how to reach guests and reach homeowners, which is a very tricky, very complicated thing to do
Mhm.
since they don't live necessarily in those homes. And so knowing how to do that and do it well and have it optimized for return is valuable. But I'm as you're talking, I'm thinking, well, then where do you apply that? So the
Mhm.
franchise model makes perfect sense because it allows you to stay in your business and share that with new people who also have a passion for hospitality. So I love that idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We our first venture outside Orlando was Aruba, and we partner up there with a local small property manager. They were managing around 12 to 15 homes, and they
Mhm.
were like stuck at that level. They grew a little bit, but then it became too much, and
Mhm.
they had to scale down because they couldn't really handle it anymore because they didn't have the processes in place to really scale. But then we partner up. We did exactly what I just explained, and with our branding and knowledge and team that we had here in Orlando, we were able to scale them from those 12 to 15 properties all the way to 100 properties in less than 2 years. And they're now one of the premier property management companies in Aruba. That would have taken them probably a few more years doing it on their own. So it really worked well there. We're doing the same in Miami now. And we think we can help a lot of other business owners and Airbnb hosts to do the same in their area.
I love it. Well, hey, this has been very exciting for me to learn about your whole story and how all this came together. Congrats on all the success and what you have
Yeah.
planned for the future. If we put in the description information for people to reach you, how can they reach you?
Yeah, no, they can reach out to me by email. We will add my email address in the description, and by LinkedIn if you want to know more about vacation rentals and everything that's going on. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn.
All right, that sounds good. Thanks again, Dennis, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Pleasure being here.